What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Blindside Sports. And as you guys can see, we have a guest with us if you're on the YouTube side of things. And he's the producer of Two Pros and a Cup of Joe with Jonas Knox, Brady Quinn, and LeVar Arrington. Sticks, as they call him. It's Lee delapp, as Jonas would say, at Lee delapp on Twitter. That's LeeDelapp. Lee, what's up, man?
Not much, man. Emmett, hey, good. Thanks for having me. You rock the delapp better than any of the guys on the show. That's awesome.
Thank you. I don't know where the rolling thing came from, but I guess it's a show joke. Had to do it on here, So the Two Pro Cup of Joe, I don't know, like the Maller Militia. I don't know what their equivalent would be, but the fan base of Jonas, Brady, and LeVar would be.
Yeah, we're still coming up with a name on that. There's some ideas rolling around, but it'll happen organically, just like everything else on the show.
Yep, exactly. That's I feel like organic radio is the best radio. And Lee, I'm gonna ask him a couple sports questions, some show questions, and some miscellaneous questions. And the first question I want to start out with, Lee, here is kind of not really sports or show related, but I guess it's a podcast. You got to get to know each other. But what is like one of your, some of your hobbies you like to do outside of producing Two Pros and a Cup of Joe?
That does take up a lot of my time. Thankfully, when you're working something you love to do, that does take up a lot of your time. But I golf, disc golf as well. Living in LA, you get to do a bunch of fun stuff. So a lot of hiking. Thankfully, I live in the same neighborhood and that I grew up in, so I got a lot of friends who are around. So just kind of the normal stuff. I don't have much of a taste for any talent when it comes to music, but I have a lot of musician friends, so I go to their shows, hang out with those guys. There's a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds fun. And disc golf, I've never tried that, but I know Justin Cooper, he was a guest on the show at one point, and I'm sure will make another appearance, a producer of the Ben Maller Show and former child actor in Liar Liar. I know he is a disc golfer out. Have you guys played together or disc golfed together?
It's funny, we were just talking about that, I think yesterday or the day before, about him going to my local disc golf course here in Burbank, called the Bell, which is a small dirt track, kind of a whole place at the bottom of this really nice golf course at the top of the hill. So we've been planning on going there, trying to get Roberto to join us as well. Roberto Flores, of course.
Disc golfing Roberto.
Yeah, we'll try and get him out there.
Speaking of Roberto, I gotta ask, because usually, in the Fox Sports, studios, I'm pretty sure the computer like that, if you guys don't know, our guy Justin Cooper got hacked a couple weeks ago, if you will. And it basically said @Raider_Rob24, which is Roberto Flores, technical producer for Ben Maller and Two Pros and a Cup of Joe, is an awesome guy, in like respect and all of this. And, obviously, like it's the producer's computer. So, you don't have to own this, but was this you, or did Roberto, come and, grab the keyboard and do it, or who and I got to bring this up too. I remember last year, it was around the time the Lakers lost in was this the first round or the play-in? It was first round last year to the Suns. Yeah. And I was looking at Coop's Twitter for something, maybe, I was like going to DM him, and I look at the bio and it says Broncos, Clippers, and Angels fan. And usually, Coop's a Laker apologist, as Ben Maller would say. So it was a little weird. And I think Coop, there could be a couple jokes there about Justin Cooper if you know him as a guy. We'll leave those alone. But I mean, it's like he forgets to close out his account on his computer at work, and Roberto or you or Bershinger or someone gets him.
Oh yeah, we all kind of everyone's got to be super careful about it. That's why I'm always just on Fox Sports Radio's account. I don't sign in on my personal stuff at work. Exactly for that reason. I think I learned that a long time ago. But And Coop knows better. So anytime he does that, we make sure to capitalize on that. I think I remember that as well. The Clippers.
Was that you or who?
No, I don't think that one was me, but I've gotten him a few times.
Yeah, he always keeps them up. Well, besides the Clipper one, because that would be taking the biggest L to Ben Maller. But like as far as I'm like aware, the Roberto Flores one is still up, and I just think it's funny to me.
Well, if it's a true tweet, you got to leave it.
Exactly, Roberto Flores. He's a jack of all trades. He can cook. He can raise a family. He can play Madden. He's actually good at Madden. I've played him before a couple times.
Oh, we gotta play. Yeah, I gotta play Roberto. I haven't played him yet.
Do you have PlayStation?
No, that's probably the reason why. I'm an Xbox guy.
Oh, come on, Lee. Bad job by you.
I know. I think I'll probably get the PS5 eventually, just because I eventually just kind of get both of them once it's been long enough. But when it comes to Madden, no, I'm an Xbox guy. In fact, I got all my Maddens right here. But yeah.
Yep. So I want to ask you this about FSR. Who, you've been at the network for years. I believe, didn't you work on like Steve Gorman before you got, demoted, if you will, to the weekends? Out of your whole radio career, who's your biggest inspiration?
Who's my biggest inspiration? Well, I guess you could answer that a few ways, but I mean, I'll just go along with kind of who's been the biggest influence for me since I've been there. It's been 10 years and I started under the school of Sam Batesh. A lot of the guys at the network, especially producers like Ryan Music and myself, you could rattle off a few others, were interns under him. He was, of course, the producer.
Oh, Benson?
Yeah, Vincent. Yeah. I mean, you could rattle off a lot of them, but he was the producer of the Loose Cannons. So that's where I started. And Steve Hartman, who's been an LA radio legend for decades. You could hear him.
Yep.
Actually, he's on a few episodes of Winning Time right now.
Yep.
He was a big, he was the first guy I was working with, him, Pat O'Brien, and Vic the Brick. And I think those guys kind of gave me my first taste of what it was like to work in radio. Sam, John Ramos, behind the
great
scenes.
John Ramos.
The great John Ramos.
Host of his own show.
Yeah, we've talked about doing a little podcast together, maybe a movie podcast, because we both are big movie cinephiles. But and in fact, I talk movies every time I see Steve. Sometimes more so than I talk sports with him. So wow. I think those were kind of the guys that kind of got me started, because up until then I loved sports talk radio. I loved sports media, but when I was in college, I was trying to be in film and in movies, work behind the scenes there. And I kind of fell serendipitously into radio just as an internship. And I really learned to love it from there. Love and hate at the beginning. But that's kind of those were the guys who started me. And, there's a lot of JT the Brick and Tom Looney were guys who were big influences me. Yeah, those guys worked alongside them. Ben, I've always been happy to be kind of peripherally around his show, because I think he's just a mastermind. Luckily I fill in a few times here and there, but I haven't been obviously a full-time.
Never Coop is too mad about a Lakers loss. It's always you used to get the last minute nod, hey, come work 11 to 3 for Coop tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of my influences aren't necessarily the guys you hear on the mic, but the kind of the guys behind. You got a lot of the update anchors. You got Dan Byard, Steve DeSager. I'm gonna leave a lot of guys off when you ask me a question like that, because there's just so many great people, especially at Fox Sports Radio, that I've been so lucky to kind of start under, which is so rare, to start under such great people. You kind of try to build your way up there, but that's kind of, there was a lot of those original people who are still obviously in the industry that I think I've learned the most from. And then of course, Jonas Knox, who I get to work alongside with today, and I've worked alongside with since I've been there, is probably, one of those guys who kind of gets every aspect of the business. Because he's been, just like myself, kind of started from the edit bay up through producing. He's worked the update at desk, and now is one of the best hosts on the network. So I wouldn't say influenced, but definitely proud and like proud to work alongside all these people and learn from all of them along the way.
Yeah, that's a great, but Fox is very, it's a very unique and kind
Mhm.
of deep lineup, if you will. It's like, the bullpen is endless, if you will. And, because you got guys like, Jonas, Brady, and LeVar who are, goofballs, more entertaining side of radio. You got informative like Gottlieb and,
Mhm.
well, Gottlieb's a mix of both. So that's about Cowherd, DP are the guys that come to mind. And you got like Jason Smith, who just, he always has these outlandish hot takes, which are hilarious. And then you
Yeah,
got
he
Ben
owns
Maller,
them.
who
Yeah.
yeah, he does. I'll give him that. But you got Ben Maller, who is one of the, guys who just he can pull it together. Like, he has the rhythm, he'll talk sports and he'll get off topic and he's really good at bringing the show back. And once it sucks, like if we have a horrible caller and, it's just not very entertaining, he's good at getting everything back and, check. And if there's a good caller that could be more entertaining than something about a sports story. And, like, for example, I was listening to the Fifth Hour and like Coop eating that hot dog that was in the break room for 12 hours like 5 years ago. Like that
Yeah.
was obviously more entertaining than, you know, a lot of sports stories. So he stuck with that. And, I respect that one. And, you're a big Green Bay Packers guy,
Mhm.
Lee DeLapp, that, you and Bershinger and Iowa Sam, shouldn't
Yeah.
have said that name. Should have dumped Iowa Sam. I got bleep it. No. He's gonna get his ego going if he listens. But you guys are Packers guys, and I have to ask you, what are your expectations for the Packers this season, and how did you feel about the draft?
Sure.
There was talks about draft, receivers in the first round. It didn't happen. I have something for you that, you know, I didn't think about until draft night, until another team did it. I'll propose it to you after your answer. But what are your thoughts?
Well, as a Packers fan, especially when it comes to draft time, you learn to not get your expectations too high. By the end of it, I always talk myself into what they're doing, and I love what Brian Gutekunst is game planned in the years he's been there. So I love that they brought in a bunch of Georgia guys. The linebacker and the tackle Quay Walker and those guys, and now they pair him up with Stokes. I think they got another guy on the defense who's from Georgia. So if you could kind of replicate something like the Georgia defense in college, I know it's not obviously the pros, but I'm feeling like that unit has gotten even stronger. And when it comes to
Oh
wide
yeah,
receiver, which is the big thing with the Packers, Christian Watson, you hope the ceiling is there and that he could step into a leading role in his rookie year. You don't know necessarily. You hear good things about Dubes or Dobbs. I think it's Dobbs, but it could be Dubes. I'm not even sure.
thing stops.
Yeah, exactly. Dobbs, the speedster.
Yep, it's
Um,
quick.
and Aaron's gonna make those guys good, especially if you got Amari Rogers stepping up in his second year. So when it comes to the Packers, you never worry about, maybe you worry about the Vikings. The Lions and Bears are getting better, but you always feel like you got a hold on the NFC North. So
The Lions are. We'll get to that in a minute. You bring that up, but the Lions are
well, so
sneakily.
so
They're sneakily getting into it, man.
yeah, my guess is you might be talking about like how much we traded up to go get Christian Watson versus what the Lions traded up to go get Jamison Williams,
Yeah,
and it's like, why didn't the Packers pull a trigger on a big move like that?
there are so many receivers in that draft too. Like
Right.
it didn't have to be Jamison Williams because obviously there's questions around him coming off the injury in the national championship. There's other guys you could go for. Personally, I think, and losing a Devonte Adams. I mean, I feel like kind of the theme is receivers. Okay, maybe they're replaceable. I mean, I feel like that's a theme this year though because look, this receiving, this is one of the, craziest receiver classes. So many receivers taken in the first round. Like
Mm-hmm.
we haven't seen anything like this. It's history, right?
Right.
And I mean, I think the Packers, they could have gotten their next, Devonte Adams. And not everyone's gonna pan
Well,
out, obviously, but
well,
Aaron
I
and
don't know if you're
Devonte
gonna get
Adams
to
was lethal.
the. Yeah. Well, it's amazing. I was just thinking about that. Is just how many different eras of wide receivers Aaron has gone through. I mean, obviously he started off with inheriting what you know Driver and Jennings, and then just eventually they make, and the Packers always have that, that stat of their second round wide receivers. I believe
like Devontae Adams wasn't even that good in his first couple years, and
right,
and then he took off, and oh God, what was he, second round pick? I mean, you probably know more than I would. So
Fresno State, yeah.
The potential, if we're kind of going by themes here of like the Packers, of their previous traditions, and I mean, one of these guys is going to work out. But God, this receiving class was so stacked this year, and I feel like it's triggering too as a you can agree disagree as a Packers guy, but just seeing all those receivers there, and you just lost either the best or top 2 receiver in the NFL, and you're not going to go after one. I mean, that just shows, the Packers trust Aaron Rodgers to make a name of whoever they get later, but I guess it goes down to this: defense wins championships. I mean, that's what they're trying to do, and
they're the team too. They got
Aaron Jones, the other dude, AJ Dillon. Yep.
Yeah. No, and so I pretend to know the X's and O's to tell you who it's the right choice. I mean, I'm a fan just like everybody else, where it's like, hey man, Julio Jones is still out there. He's a big body. He could go up there in the red zone and be a target. Like, there's still moves that could be made. If you want to go crazy conspiracy theory, it's never going to happen, nor would I like it. But like, hey man, AB is still out there. You could put imagine Antonio Brown and Aaron Rodgers together. That would be.
I'd want the Jonas Knox bet a couple months ago if was if the Steelers won, he'd wear a AB jersey and lick the toilet seat at FSR.
Yeah, you don't want to do that on a Monday, that's for sure.
No, and it was a 3-day weekend also, so.
Yeah. No, it's the rumors are true. You kind of want to maybe hold it till Tuesday, kind of thing.
Yeah. Is it that bad? Like, I feel like the overnight too is when you and Berto and like, I feel like that's when it's just peak level, disgusting.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's that bad, but after a long weekend, things pile up. Not to be like things pile up, and we are the last crew before the next morning shift, and everything gets cleaned again. So, but
I remember Ben Maurer.
Sometimes you got to take a trip upstairs to another floor.
That's exactly where I was going. Ben Maurer, an ultimate Maurer maneuver, if you will, goes upstairs to use the bathroom at times when I don't know if you heard the story, but a couple of years ago, after he got his gallbladder removed, I believe it was 2019 2020 or whatever, he that situation where don't want to use a gross bathroom, so he travels upstairs. He's talking to Ralph Irvin. He blames on our guy Ralph. Let's just say if you're eating right now, it's a little gross, but he didn't make it. So it's all, every time, that's where I learned of the Maurer maneuver of going upstairs. I don't, when he's back in studio, I don't think he uses that one after, what happened trying to make it upstairs, but
that's a close time, and you got to time that out right. Cause it's you don't never know. Sometimes those elevators take a while. So
yeah, exactly.
It's an art.
So back on the Packers, it's just, the Packers have a way of doing something, and you can get mad at the Packers for drafting Jordan Love in the first round and all this, but they find a way to do something right. I mean, they're not winning, Super Bowls like, Tom Brady, who's going to Fox, by the way. How about that? And they're not doing that, but their names out there and stuff like that. And about the playoff game, which made you pass out in front of your fire pit. Jonas is still on you about that one. And I just feel like, that was the ultimate game for you guys to win. The 49ers played, if you guys, don't remember back to January, the 49ers played like crap. I mean, it's the only way you can put it. They were not good. And it was like a blocked punt or a field goal that secured the bag for the Niners. And they got lucky, they started to even collapse in the fourth quarter against Dallas, who didn't play very good. So,
the special teams this year for the Packers was really shaky. And I'm really excited that they brought in, the Raiders interim coach, Rich, is it Bisaccia?
Yeah, Bisaccia.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like to play up something like special teams, but I think that was really kind of our Achilles tendon last season. Losing a game like that to the Niners, who always have our number. We never play good against West Coast teams, so it sucks to give that one away. And yeah, as a Packers fan, the last 10 years plus, well, obviously longer than that, but I'm just saying since the last Super Bowl and being close so many times, it's a bit of a tease. But that's also one of the beautiful things about being a Packers fan is you're always in it.
Yep.
And you always have, you're always delusional like that. Same with being a Lakers fan and
even a Seahawks fan at times too. Like it's just
well,
like
man,
every
it's gonna be
year.
a tough. How do you feel, man? It's gonna be a tough year to be a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, I definitely think, look, the Seahawks, they still have a okay, decent roster, but there's some gaping holes. Like that quarterback position. I like the running back draft that they, because I've been saying Chris Carson, yeah, good player, not healthy enough. Rashad Penny, we saw a glimpse of him in the last 4 games, but the guy's glass. So, I've said, keep one of them, either sign another more reliable guy or maybe draft somebody and, go that route. So I like the pick there. I am, you've probably seen on Twitter, Drew Lock, no. He's
You're not
no.
buying it? No.
DK and Tyler,
We were just
good
talking
core.
about that today, about Drew Lock and how, he might be a better fit than even Trey Lance is in San Francisco. He gets a bad rap. This might be a good opportunity to see what he could really do.
I mean, I will give him that. And I think I was on I don't know if you remember him, but I was co-hosting with VJ Husky the other day on his show. And I was saying that, like, look, do I hate, am I hating on Drew Lock an awful lot? Yeah. But, it could be something where, look, the change of scenery helps him. And, Pete Carroll, I've been questioning, him for a little bit now, but, no, he's, good at getting, players in the right system like Russell Wilson. And, Drew Lock is going to a team with a freshly drafted tackle at pick 9, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who can make explosive plays. And, you brought over your boy Noah Fant to where obviously we got some players on defense, but there's still some holes. And I think the Seahawks are going to be okay this year. And to me, I just don't know about the Cardinals, man. I can't trust them. They're not reliable. Kyler Murray, I've talked about on my show before. I think the guy's overrated. It's, I sound like Ben Maller, but first half he plays good. And then second half, I call it the second half slump. And, the football season is 17 games. So I feel like, the Seahawks, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they're, last in the division because, obviously they have, the least amount of talent out of, the 4 teams in the NFC West. But, let's say, something with Trey Lance, like Trey Lance is a starter and it doesn't pan out. To me, it's a little shaky. If you, trade up to draft Trey Lance, you move up like 9 picks, like you moved up a bunch and you're not going to do anything with the guy. Maybe that was a mistake, I mean, time will tell, I guess. And, Jimmy G, who's one of the most weird players in the NFL, like, very, he's serviceable. Sometimes he'll go in and he'll, throw like 250 yards, a couple tutties and, lead the 49ers to a convincing win. But there's some games where they're up and then he throws a pick and he just plays like garbage in the 4th quarter. So it's kind of, I haven't really been looking into, where we're going to be next season because it's just the NFL draft, after the NFL draft, I haven't done my division stuff. But, the Seahawks, I mean, stuff's looking kind of bright throughout the years. You got your 2 picks next year with, the trade from Denver, and you got your pick obviously back, which you haven't had in a couple of years due to the Jamal Adams trade, which people are ready to, say, oh, the Jets won this. I don't know, man. Jamal Adams, when he was healthy last year in the COVID year, he was pretty good. I think he was playing with that injury all year. So I just think, obviously the Rams are, holding up that NFC West by a long shot. I don't think it's going to be even close, but the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th could get very interesting, I think. And it also depends, what happens with Deebo Samuel also, because the Niners were utilizing him a lot. And I've even heard rumors that might've been from you guys, Jonas, Brady, and LeVar, and, you that maybe Debo Samuel just doesn't, maybe starting to accept staying with the 49ers. We'll have to wait and see with that. But, I think that there's a lot of factors going into the season as a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, you wonder.
Sorry to ramble there, but
no, I love it. I love good NFC West talk. Yeah, and you wonder if Debo Samuel is just posturing, and that's kind of the new game of just using the public forum to kind of like.
I feel like it's half and half too, because like obviously Aaron Rodgers got his way, and then you have players like Deshaun Watson who just got traded, and that's a whole thing. You got Russell Wilson who acted like stuff was fine, and then you got traded. Maybe it's kind of like the start, of this whole Russell Wilson thing, but obviously a receiver for Debo where, he's going to have a good season and then maybe get shipped off next year. That's when he finally, forces a trade. But who knows?
Kind of what we've been talking about on the show is just the way the Niners utilize him is why he's so valuable. And you can't really foresee a lot of other teams being able to do that. Now's a good time to get the high value for him and get, if the guy, God bless him, he gets paid, because right now the wide receiver market's insane.
Yep. And the guy, and another thing to look into also is he said, I thought it was a lot worse than it was, but the guy does have a tiny injury history. Like 2020 played 7 games. It seemed like his rookie year, he was on the injury report a fair amount, but, ended up coming through and playing. So, I mean, and with this position, being a running back and a receiver in the NFL. Yeah, that it's a little risky,
Reminds me of Le'Veon Bell a little bit. I mean, obviously a lot earlier in his career, but just like, hey man, if you're gonna do this, like, let me get paid before the wheels fall off, kind of thing. If you're gonna utilize me this way. Which,
I mean, I feel like Debo, he could be a solid receiver. Like, who knows? But like, yeah, you're right. Jonas, Brady, and LeVar, right? The reason he is who he is because, the Niners and the way they use him. I had a NFL reporter on a couple of weeks ago, Bobby Thompson, who was saying, he thinks that that Debo is gonna be, if he goes to that right system, he can still be the Debo Samuel that we all saw last year. And he even said himself, he's like, yeah, it's a little, what Debo is doing is a little questionable. Like, your value is from, being a running back, receiver, jack of all trades. And we don't really see it that often. So it's going to be interesting to see how the whole Debo Samuel thing works out, man.
Well, if any of them want to give them to the Packers, whether it's Metcalf or Debo, we'll take them off your hands.
I hope it's Debo. I don't want Debo in the NFC West, because I like him as a player, and don't like the Niners because, our rival, and
of course,
it's not as bad as it used to be, the rivalry, but still there. Emmett Douglas here on Blindside Sports. Get me on Twitter at EmmettNoC04. We are joined by Lee delapp. Get him at Twitter at Lee delapp. That's LEEDELAPP. Now, Lee has been, producing for a while now on Fox Sports Radio, and that's, he started at Fox Sports Radio, and he's been there, worked there for a very long time. So I'm sure there's some good stories. What is your favorite behind the scenes story that won't get you fired? Because a little behind the scenes here, Iowa Sam was on the show, and sometimes I'll clip them and post them on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all that, get more traction to the show, get more traction to you guys, you're my guests. And there's one clip, I'm not going to say it because I think he kind of regrets saying it. I didn't post it because he asked me not to, but there's one thing that he said that could have gotten him in trouble. So, hey man, if you want to share something that could get you in trouble, I mean, it's, I mean, I can't stop you. It's your platform, but what's the craziest behind the scenes story in your career?
Oh, wow. Craziest behind the scenes story. Oh man. Well, God, there's so many stories that I wish I was a part of. I mean, definitely, heated exchanges, but
Eddie talked about one of those.
But yeah. I mean, everyone's pretty good family, though. I mean, it's really not.
It doesn't have to be like like someone throwing down in the break room. It could be like Gremlins or like Bobo and you getting into a huge like Cowboys debate, or it could be something like that. It doesn't have to be like Brady and LeVar throwing down the studio or something. It could.
Oh,
you
well,
know.
I mean, one of the classic ones, which, you know, anyone who's a P1 listener or listens to Fox Sports Radio long enough has probably heard the John Ramos burning his his lunch his lunch what do you call those, the ramen bowls? I think he
Oh, a
was
cup of
cooking them.
noodles.
Yeah, a cup of noodles. Like, I think he was cooking something like that, and it was like he tried to put in like 2 minutes, but he put in 20 minutes and forgot. And everyone came into the studio, and it was just the smell of death. And we had to put fans and open the doors for like 2-3 days. That was pretty funny. Um, uh,
I
you
mean,
know,
if we're talking, I mean, I said funny, crazy. I don't know if you're in for this, but when John Ramos had kidney stones on the board, like
uh-huh.
it hit him when he was running the show. That, I mean, I
I
don't
was
know,
yeah,
like I don't
I
know
was
how
there.
that one even played out. I just remember,
We've had a couple.
people.
We've had a couple kidney stone issues at Fox Sports Radio. Probably because we all have such bad diets. But yeah, I was there the day John Ramos had that, and Big Mike Lingard had to rush him to the ER. I was there the day Jason Smith. I was producing actually that day for Jason Smith, I think, and
Yep,
he had to pull off the side of the freeway and make
yep.
his way to the ER. Ralph Irvin one time just walked up to me like and just put a kidney stone on my desk right in front of me and said,
Oh,
"See," and he's just like, "That's how a real man does it." Is
what?
That's Ralph Irvin for you. Yeah, like
That
seriously.
wait,
That,
was that like him, like, hey, Colin, gag on, I need to go home, or is that just
no,
well,
he was just like, "That's how a real man does it." All these other guys calling out sick, and he like puts a paper towel down in front of me, and there's a frozen kidney
oh,
stone right there.
that is I could hear him saying that. Lee,
Yeah,
that's how
no,
a
that's
real man does it. Wait, was this like recently, or was this, because I know
uh,
like
it
Jason's
was
was in the summer a while
yeah.
ago.
I think it was around the same time as Jason. I think that's kind of why he made a point to like to do it and show me. It was weird, but that's Ralph for you. But
How
he's the
did
guy.
how who obviously if Ralph Irvin were to have a John Ramos situation, go to the ER. I mean like you could do the update or something, but how does a board op, if something happens to a board op, how does that, like, was it
Yeah.
like, were you on the board for like an hour or?
Oh man. What did we do when John went out? I think somebody who was working upstairs, I think for Colin Coward, it might have been like Iowa Sam came down and filled in. You know, Kyrus Coburn, who's the head engineer at the network. Sometimes he's had to jump in. That is a scary one because I've been there long enough where you've seen everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's the Murphy's law, and something still surprises you every so often. There's something new. That's just part of the business, and that's the great thing about radio is the show goes on live radio, um, and somebody steps in. Like in some, I've had nightmares. I have nightmares about it all the time. Like
Hey,
the
you're
whole
probably
crew drops
asleep
out.
and
Yeah,
you wake up your girlfriend 'cause you're freaking out so bad.
yeah, I'm on the board and on the air, which is the last place I want to be. I never
Have
like
you
to
ran the board there before? Or?
You know, a very little bit. Like if you told me I had to run the board, I could maybe get us in and out of breaks and do a few things, but I wouldn't trust me to do that. No, I'm more so like troubleshooting and helping get guys on the air when we have technical
The
issues.
Gremlins, yeah.
Yeah, gremlins in the system. Like that's kind of like somebody's got to run back to the rack room and restart equipment, but do all
Yeah,
that kind
my craziest behind the scenes, just doing the show was, shout out Ryan Bershinger, by the way, because this involves him. And I interviewed him. We were on here for about 2 hours, and I go, it was a Friday night. It's like, I think it's like hang out with the boys or something. I end the meeting and just leave, right? Like I was like, I'll let it convert, because it was a 2 hour interview. It's gonna take forever to convert
of.
because obviously it's a big file, has to convert, the audio, the video, all that. So I get up, leave, I let it do its thing. I come back at around 12 midnight to, prep everything, listen, make sure it's all good, no, obviously gremlins or anything. And I'm like, okay, it's not showing up anywhere. And next morning I'm like, whatever, I'll listen to Brian, play video games, just wait it out, maybe my computer shut off, I didn't think anything of it. Next morning, same thing, couldn't figure it out. Me and Bershinger were troubleshooting, and he was I think he either on vacation, no, he was producing that day. And even, during work, obviously producing, what Bershinger does, like, Joy Taylor and,
Mhm.
Mark Willard, whoever's on.
Mhm.
He was, helping me troubleshoot, and it was the most simple fix ever. I find, like, I leave again, I'm like, whatever, I gotta go do something. I'll figure it out later, if we can't post it, so be it. And I go and I try one more Google search and type in the question completely differently. And it
Uh-huh.
is like, oh, you can manually convert it. I'm like, oh, that makes it so much easier. And they had the thing up in 30 minutes. I was just like, come on, man. Like, it was really funny because, me and Bershinger were both scrambling and doing different Google searches, doing different things, emailing stuff to each other. Like, it was funny. And yeah, that kidney stone thing from our guy Ralph Irvin. That's like, who was it? Was T-shirt there too? Because
Oh God. Yeah, I think I
T-shirt was probably like T-shirt was probably really really impressed by that, or really grossed out. No in between.
yeah, I think Jonas was most grossed out by it. I don't even think I told anybody for a while. I was like, it was a little Ralphie boy esque thing there, but I'm glad I could share it here with you. Um,
You gotta clip on the in case you missed it. You gotta clip that and be like, this is really in case you missed it, because I'm sure no one heard it. And I'm sure Ralph, when Ralph does something, Ralph owns it. He's not gonna,
oh
you
no,
know, he'll be like,
shameless.
that was me.
Yeah, no, he owns it. That's what I love about Ralph.
Do
Absolutely.
you? Yeah, Ralph. He's very quiet and to the point. And do you know Justin in Cincinnati?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
This is my favorite Ralph Irvin moment right here.
Uh-oh. I think I know what this is. Yeah.
Mike Mayer was producing, and
Uh-huh.
it was obviously, I think it was Danny, or it might have been Nick Wright or whoever it was, but they were running the show. And Ralph, it was a holiday. Ralph was on the updates because Eddie just refuses to work a holiday, and it was Benny's Boulder Dash, and
Mhm.
Justin was on the line, and Ralph does not like when you call him Rectum Ralph, and Justin kept doing it because Justin, he's a troll. Like,
Yeah.
he goes for the reaction. And obviously it's radio, we don't know what's happening. We hear Ben just start commentating like, oh, he's running, and he's like, oh, Ralph was pushing Mayer out of the way. Ralph's trying to hang up on Justin. And Ralph was trying to hang up, was mashing buttons. He's really lucky he didn't pull shut down the network like our guy Bob Garrett. But he was
Yeah. Wrong button.
I think he got him off the air at one point, which
Oh
was
yeah.
hilarious.
He dumped him. He jumped right over Mike. Yeah. No, Mike Mayer. And
Imagine Ralph just
that was him losing his cool for sure. And you could, yeah.
that guy's a punk. I hear him say it right after that. I'm like, oh, my Ralph.
That's funny because I missed those days where Ben was in studio where he would narrate what he could see, which is
Like Coop eating the hot dog, which is hilarious.
yeah. We're finally getting people back in studio, which is fun.
Yeah, Jonas and LeVar.
Yeah, it's great because I mean, we went 2+ years without anyone.
I think a lot of them are, gonna stay, like at least most of the weekday guys. Besides, like, because I feel like for like Rob Parker, we're a CB's in like New York or whatever. It's just like, what's the point of coming back to waste the money on gas and LA traffic when your partner's not even in studio with you? I mean, it's the point of going back every day.
I see both reasons for a lot of people want to come back. A lot of people don't need to come back. It's different for everybody. And obviously we've all adjusted to now it's the new normal.
Have you ever produced from home before, or?
Yeah, I think we had a COVID scare early in the pandemic where I was asked to kind of do some stuff from home, and it's just not the same because I don't have the equipment to be live, so you're really just kind of listening on the delay.
Oh, they can't put you in like I don't know how it works, but like for like a Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the way it would work, it wouldn't work that way unless I was a live kind of host on air.
Yeah.
So it's not something I would ever do. I was the pandemic. I mean, God bless anyone ever, for all of us for getting through it. But I mean, I loved it being in LA. The fact that there was nobody on the road, and I was getting to go to work every day. And it was beautiful, and there was no smog. Uh, it was quite different. And weird behind the scenes story was like I think I was there with Iowa Sam or Alex Teichert when we had to shut down the network and like uh, change studios to a different location, which had never been done before. In the 10 years I'd been there, you walk into Fox Sports Radio, there's always sound.
Yeah.
It's never silent. So it was an eerie feeling the one time we had to kind of like flip the switch, and it was me and Alex Teicher, and we were kind of the last ones in the building locking it up. And as we walk out, there's a hazard team coming in and cleaning it, making sure everyone's nice and safe, which of course the network made sure we were all good. And thank God everyone is and was. So that was one of the bizarre moments. You've been there long enough. That was one that I'll always remember.
I remember another one, actually. This is more recent when I really, had time to listen because, we were in school, we were doing online, and COVID scare. I think, it might have been Teicher because he said it on his Shallow Ocean thing. Sometimes I'll check out his work because, Alex is a good dude. Yep. He, this is around the time where it will make sense. And Chris Plank was running sitting in for Big Ben. It was during the holidays, and they just had to get off the air like hour number 2. And, because, obviously when, radio guys, talking into mics and all that. And, if you think about it like a microphone, like right here is a COVID, a bunch of different people. I mean, it makes sense. And, it's one of the guys, like one of the board guys or something tested positive to where they had to shut down the network in the middle of the show. And I remember Eddie, he tweeted something, someone asked him, he's like, yeah, my wife was like, why are you home at 1:30? So, I mean, that would be really crazy. You're, hosting a show and you get the text from, the managers, hey man, Chris, get off the air, COVID, leave. We're playing the best of.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for that, and like walking out and seeing the big wigs, Don Martin, kind of there waiting for us, making sure everyone got out of there okay, and making sure that we got cleaned up. And then I was there with a deep dish pizza, courtesy of Mike Harmon, sitting next to Iowa Sam when the team came in again to clean. And
I don't think Iowa Sam leaves Fox Sports Radio.
Dude, I've walked in on him sleeping on a couch in the back. Yeah, it's just like, what are you still doing here, man? Like, you were off. I got in, my shift started and yours ended, and I'm leaving and you're still here. I was worried about.
I think Alex Teichert slept in the control room one time too. You think he might have been joking, but
Oh yeah, he has. I've slept there. I think the three of us are probably the ones who've kind of like pulled those overnight shifts where we're just
Bershinger. I feel like Bershinger's always there too, like behind the scenes. Like,
yeah, he is. Yeah, there's the joke is like, where's the rollout cot?
It's been Ricky lately, also our guy Ricky Herrera, who I love Ricky. Ricky's such a good dude. He is. Ricky on Facebook. Yep. Dude, yeah. I think he's in a band. He was telling me that on the phone the other day when I was calling in, and he's like, he does a bunch of cool things. I mean, I gotta get him on, but I'll ask him next time.
Ask him about his tattoos. He's got the worst tattoos.
Yeah, I think Ricky's one of my biggest fans at Fox Sports Radio. I mean, the guy, obviously, you and Coop, and you don't really take calls anymore because Jonas, they don't.
When you have three guys, why?
There's no point. Yeah.
There's no point for another voice.
But Coop's kind of like Ben, introvert. But man, Ricky, the way he is, you'd think he just won't say anything, but that guy talks a lot. When you like, I think he was just filling in for Danny a couple weeks ago, and was talking. I think we were like, before I got in the queue, it was like 6 minutes. Like I'm not complaining, but I was just like, wow, that's most of these guys are really quick and thorough. Like Bo Benson, he's another guy who talks a little bit too. But me and Bo have we talk all the time because Twitter. He always replies to my tweets and says I have bad takes, so it's fine. But
no, he's one of those. I won't call it a troll, but he'll definitely interact with you on Twitter.
I'd say a Twitter troll. I mean, he's not. He's more of a joker. I mean, he's even mean it half the time. He just thinks it's funny, and it's slowed down since he's had his daughter, but less time on his hands.
Yeah, congrats to him. I haven't seen him since, but I've talked to him a few times. But yeah.
Yep. Now we've been talking about COVID and behind the scenes for a while. Let's get to something that some of us would recognize. Favorite on-air moments in your career?
Ooh, for me,
Yeah.
favorite on-air moments. Man, I tell you what, I still have like stage fright. I don't like to crack the mic, so it's like I always cringe at myself. It's funny because a lot of radio people are like that. It's surprising. Oh, well, I mean, it kind of goes back to my internship days when I would like put some awful caller on the air and I would get aired out by Steve Hartman and Pat O'Brien, and they would call me out for what was I thinking putting somebody on the air. And I'd have to explain myself. A lot of the times, I mean, sometimes it was back when I was an editor and I'd have to put together like these huge highlight reel packages of like the NHL playoffs. I'd put together some stuff. Obviously Vito's the king of all that, but I kind of tried to do some fun stuff with back in the day. I think it was what was that show called Fox Sports Weeknights with Rob Dibble and Amy Van Dyken. Those were fun times. Those were really
before
fun times.
Jason.
Yeah, before Jason and Mike. God, what are some other moments? I mean, it was always.
It could be like producing.
Sorry.
I mean, it could be like, it doesn't have to be like, you direct it, like hop on the mic and roasting Jonas. I mean, it could be something that Jonas has said, and I've noticed too. When Roberto will play out of context, you don't have a lot. I mean, there's some that I don't know if gotten saved. It was in the Bobo days when you worked the weekends.
You mean like drops and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's one you're like there's one you're I think Bobo like was on like some crazy diet thing and going hard in the gym, and his cheat day happened to be on a day where you guys were working. You're like, I'm afraid he's gonna eat me, and I was hoping that was gonna get saved. I don't know if it did, and Roberto just can't find it, or what happened.
Yeah, no, I think I still have that saved in a file somewhere. Yeah, again, one of the reasons why I don't like necessarily cracking the mic.
People like Ben love it, like, and
I think I called Bobo by the wrong name a few times.
Did you call him like
I don't know, I forget, but
can't say it on the air, probably.
The amount of that's a fun thing with any show is the behind the scenes, but I think you hear it a lot with Two Pros and a Cup of Joe is how much fun we have.
There's no behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw what was happening behind the scenes, we'd all be fired. It could definitely be Fox Sports Radio After Dark.
Yeah, no bosses,
series. Yeah. I'm sure I could come up with a million things off.
They're probably 90% of them are Jonas.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of mine too. My favorite was Ralph cursing on Steve Hartman and Jeff Schwartz a couple weeks ago during his update. He was talking about golf. He's like, "Oh shit," and he just messed up. Like it was, complete accident. The real Don was in there and got him on that one and dumped it. And I think Danny G, who's a wizard of out of context.
I think that happened to me once where I forgot my mic was on and I did that. Things like that haunt you. So it's one of those things you make sure never to do again.
Especially when Danny G's, in studio, because he'll get that one against you forever. That him and Roberto are the king out of context. It's like I don't even know if I want to say. Did you hear about the Cooking with Roberto one a while ago?
No.
So he goes on and he's talking about black pepper, right? And instead of pepper, it ended with a CKER, and the P was in there, and he couldn't do the second. He's like ha, like every time he was trying to speak after that, like doing the the Roberto laugh, and it put everything on delay. And another one was when Ben Maller Roberto, can I curse on hair after the Clippers just gagged against the Denver Nuggets? That one was funny.
And then and he said, "Can you dump me? Can you dump me?" Yeah. No.
We were like, "Yeah, I got you." Like,
I got you. Go for it. Yeah.
If that was daytime, no Ben or no Roberto would be somebody else for sure.
Yeah, we've gotten in a bad habit of dumping lately on the show. I think today we had to dump one today.
It's always LeVar though. It's 90% of the time LeVar.
I think LeVar called Jonas an asshole jokingly. We had to dump that. But.
Ben called the cheating Astros the cheating assholes, and Roberto had to hit that one a while ago, and yeah, some of the things in radio. I mean, technicalities, what you can and can't say is just funny to me.
Yeah, no, it's and we dabble on the line of being in a safe harbor on the hours we're in, so
Yeah,
it's you always kind of side on the side of caution, but with the guys we're working with, it's just always crank jokes and
especially the IR reports too. I love those.
Yeah. No, yeah. Thankfully, I didn't make it on
do your parents like own a pizza shop? Is that where you got that burn from, or is it your girl, or where'd that come from?
Well, the way I got my foot into the door at Fox Sports Radio is I was the pizza guy. My college job was I was working down at the pizza joint down the street called Mulberry Street Pizza. They just opened up a shop in Vegas actually, but it's kind of like I would call it a pizza spot for the stars in Beverly Hills and stuff like that. Anyway, they're right down the street from the studios, so especially when you don't have a lot of cash in your bank account, I go over there and the guys still treat me like family, and I can still walk in the back and like kind of put my pizza in the cooker and all that stuff. Great guys over there. So yeah, I was I actually did it again since then. I got one on the other arm. I'm just a klutz when it comes to the pizza oven, I guess. It's been a while. My muscle memory had left me, but yeah, that's how I got my foot in the door at Fox Sports Radio. Literally, I was in the rain delivering pizzas to Rob G and the Ben Maller show when he was producing that, and like literally in the door in the rain, giving it to Rob G, saying, "Hey, do you guys do internships?" Because I was still in college, and long story short, I talked my way into an internship, and here I am 10 years plus
so that's been your only radio job at FSR,
Yeah, which is, again, like I
that's rare.
Before, it's super rare. Doesn't happen.
Wasn't Rob Guerra also, I think, didn't happen too, and look at him, on the Odd Couple full time, and he's basically the co-host of Straight Fire with Jason McIntyre, and that's a guy who obviously, like, I think you could host a show, but you don't, you have stage fright. That guy, he really analyzes sports well, and I mean he could he could probably host by himself and be fine, without a partner.
Oh yeah, and I actually remiss for saying this. He's probably one of my biggest influences. I mean, I learned from him from day one how to produce a show and how to do it well, and I don't do it half as well as he does, but
no, Rob, he's really good. Yeah,
he's great. He's got the skull. He's got great takes. He's great with from every asset of how to be a producer. He's great. It was great kind of hanging out with him in Vegas this for the NFL draft.
That was entertaining. The two pros with that.
Yeah, nobody does Vegas like Rob G, who just just knows how to get every deal in the world. Knows how to pinch every penny, how to get every.
You'd think that would be Rob Parker, wrong Rob, like you'd think, but our guy Rob Guerra has that one in the books.
I'll share. I won't share the story, but he's got a doozy of what Rob Parker pulled off in Vegas. Our jaws dropped at what he just pulled off with getting a free pair of Jordans just by
he probably shared that. I can probably go in the vault and find it, or
yeah.
He probably that's the one thing about Rob Parker is Rob is an absolute cheapskate.
Yeah,
and usually those guys are quiet, but this guy owns it. Like the El Polloco incident where
people think that's a fake story. That's 100% true.
In the one with DeSager where I ain't paying for that with the drink or whatever it was at Dodger Stadium. That one, another classic. Steve DeSager, here he is again. And yeah,
puts up a rack during Christmas of all of his goodies for us to buy. I love him to death. He's the best.
Yeah, he's I really that's the one sucky thing about Jonas getting moved to full time is him and Rob Parker were so entertaining together. It was just you think two pros and a cup of Joe is filled with comedy. Jonas and Rob, because Rob is just a bunch of corny just crazy jokes. And Jonas, I mean, we know, you guys know Jonas, Two Pros Cup of Joe, that's all they do. And them together, I mean, I'm sure
Oh,
you've produced for Rob G, is just hilarious.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's one of the many great talents that Jonas has, is he could work with every single talent on the network. Which most people can work with just about anybody, but I think Jonas literally has worked with everybody on the network more
Yeah.
than a few times. And you're right, he knows how to tee up Rob Parker perfectly for his corniness, cornballness. So that is always fun. And you're right, like I that's part of I love obviously working with Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. Weekday mornings, 3 to 6 a.m. Pacific, 6 to 9 Eastern. But I miss a lot doing the weekends and working with such a wide range of people, and there was always a different film.
Guys like George Reiser to VJ, who
DJ's
that
great.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah, VJ. He's another comedian guy too, and he's been on the show a couple times, and we always go for a couple hours when he's on, and I co-host with him, and
Mhm.
he's helped me a lot. So far, influences. If we were to throw the question around, to me, it's him. There's, it's kind of like you. A lot of guys, Jonas is Big Ben. Unfortunately, Arnie Spanier, because I was the first guy I listened to.
Yeah.
JT and Looney, those guys are all great. And that's like we said with Fox, one of the most, I don't know if diverse is the right word, but interesting lineups, like different types of personalities, hosting shows, and even producers like
Sure.
Iowa Sam, who's out there, and
Mhm.
Don Brown, who just plays music in the air horns, and then Teichert, who is the resident vegan. So it's just Perfett, who is a suffering Lions fan. Like there's everyone on Fox Sports Radio, and
Mhm.
it's pretty cool to see that.
It is. It's a great community and family, and I think that's part of the great things about Fox Sports Radio is I think we do a good job of making the listeners hear that and feel that, because I think we welcome everyone in to kind of be part of that family as well. And I think it bleeds through. I think that's why we have such great listenership, as they see and feel that kind of camaraderie that's been there long before I was there, and it's evolved and it's changed, and but it's always been that way in a sense.
Yep. Good. One more question here, and then we'll let you go. Thanks for coming on, by the way.
Of course.
Are you going to any, I mean, you kind of go to sporting events, especially with Brian No. Are you going to anything, any sporting events, concerts, anything cool?
Well, I did just go to the NFL draft, and I saw
Yep.
Brian there and Ephraim, as well as going there with Jonas and LeVar. Brady was on location somewhere else. Let's see, where did I go? I just went to the Hollywood Bowl the other night for John Mulaney.
Is that where Chappelle got slapped?
Yeah.
Did you see? And Aaron Torres was also there.
Was he there Chappelle night? Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah, he's talking about it with Chris Blank on Sunday night. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot all about that. I talked to him and he told me he was going to go to that. I forgot.
Did you see that happen?
No. Well, I mean, I saw it. We talked about it that morning.
Wait, did you say DeSager was there? Or
no.
Oh, I was about to say what?
No, I mean, we talked about it that morning, and then it was. I think it was a week later. John Mulaney, and of course, he had a couple other comedians up there with him who were on before, and everyone had a good bit about it. Like John Mulaney's just like, I dare you to come up here. You don't have the balls.
Jonas went on Will Smith, which is hilarious.
You're right. Yeah. No, it's that's also fun, is being able to react to stuff like that. So in LA, I'm trying to go to a Dodger game. I keep on kind of like buying, like looking at tickets and just wondering on which day to go. I got to find a day game to go to a Dodger game, because obviously it's hard to go to a 7:00 game here on the West Coast when we got the hours we do. And my girlfriend hasn't been to a Dodger game yet, so I got to take her to that.
Oh, wow. I went to a Mariners game last summer. And I went to my first Seahawks game the day after New Year's, Seahawks Lions. That was, that the Seahawks, like that stadium is just, it's like the fans. I'll tell you a funny story here
Uh-huh.
before.
Yeah.
So me and my friend, the guy I went with, both never been to NFL stadium. And
Uh-huh.
we're walking, we're trying to find, the south entrance to get in. That's where we were seated. And we're like, all right, it's whatever, we were already kind of running a little late because traffic's like, all right, let's just, ask someone. My friend's judgment was garbage. Went up to this one couple
Uh-huh.
and Jonas would love this story. And maybe I'll tell it to him, if I ever get on air when he works overnights, if he does that again. And we go over to this, this couple, husband perfectly fine, perfectly sober. The wife was mangled. She
Yeah.
was absolutely annihilated, as Jonas would say. And we're asking her, and she was like taking us in, and she, when someone's so just hammered that like it's obvious from like 10 feet away. That was
Uh-huh.
this lady.
Oh
She,
yeah.
I'll show you where to go. All this, and oh, here's my just like really loud. And keep in mind, this is Pacific Coast time on a Sunday, and it was about like 1:15. I'm like, either like, you must be very inexperienced, or you must have started at like 5 a.m. Like it was like she was going all night, like probably some of the people you saw in Vegas, like at the
Yeah.
NFL draft, or it was like 2 or 3 a.m. like it. And the weirdest part, the husband was completely normal, and I think he was starting to get embarrassed by her because it's like a 5 minute walk. Like the guy, I felt bad for the dude, not gonna lie, because yeah, that I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'd want to go to a football game and remember it. Like, especially it was a regular season game against the Lions too. It wasn't even like a playoff game or like a rivalry. Like, who cares about the Detroit Lions? Like,
You know, and this was at this. You said this was at like CenturyLink, or what was Century?
it's Lumen now. Yep,
Yeah, Lumen
Lumen
now.
Field. Yep,
Yeah.
Seattle's just man, Seattle something else.
Yeah, me and my best friend is from your area, kind of. He's in Wenatchee,
Mhm.
Eastern Central Washington, and during the pandemic, we did a couple road trips up there, and it was a trip. That was my first time in Seattle,
Yeah.
and we get off the metro, and it's a ghost town. Like, only people there are kind of like the city workers and homeless people, and we walked just down the main streets all the way to CenturyLink, just kind of kill time waiting for our train, and we found like this little bar. Maybe you know which one it is. I don't know, but it's right outside of CenturyLink. It's like this little
Oh,
Irish,
that's probably where she was going.
right? And it's like we were just kind of like cruising town, just seeing what was up, and I could see somebody was like picking up a food order. I was like, oh, let's poke our head over there. Maybe we're lucky enough to get a drink. And we like kind of talked our way into the bar, even though this was like kind of not the rules at the time. And
Yeah.
we had a couple hours before our train, and they treated us like family over there, and we had a good time inside that little bar before we had to stroll back to our train and then pass out before hightailing it out to Eastern Washington. So that was a fun memory again of those times of like
Oh
that road
yeah.
that road trip, and again being in LA with no traffic, and we did plane, train, and automobile all the way up there, and nobody out there. It was cool. And then you know, hopefully, I know the Packers aren't coming to California. I know they're playing the Rams, but they're in Green Bay. I've been to Green Bay, but not for a live game. So that's on my, the top of my bucket list. And then, but me and my girlfriend, she's dual citizen, and she's got family in London. So we were actually thinking about maybe making our way to
Ooh, that's
that
cool.
game this year that they're playing out there.
Yeah, well, you know what Jonas is gonna say when you take time off for that. Delapp is off drinking yet
Yeah.
again.
Well, he's probably not too far off.
Yeah, especially when you're in London, an NFL game. I mean, and it's actually like late in the day there. When they
Yeah.
start, like it's probably right when the show would start. I actually no, it'd be like when Dan Patrick starts when they usually kick off.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it would be really cool to go on one of those like foreign games. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I've
I'm trying.
I've I've been in Spain. I think when during a football Sunday, it was like really hard to find a bar, and you had to find like it was like an Australian pub I had to find,
Yeah,
or an English pub, and even those were like they don't care about American football,
yeah.
so it was
Yep.
hard.
I had to so you're talking about like trip, stuff like that during the COVID. This brought
Mhm.
back, you're talking about, kind of breaking the rules. And a couple months into it, I had family in Montana. This was May of 2020. I don't know when you went to, when you had your Seattle thing. So we're driving to Montana, it was like me, my parents, all that.
Which part of
And like
Montana?
it was God, it was Helena. That's like the closest like town
Sure.
And we were going up there, obviously really long drive. I think I just I stayed up all night, just slept the car ride. And obviously, Washington and like Oregon, California, it's all like shut down. And this was like May of 2020. Like I have a
Mhm.
video on like Snapchat memories of like eating in a diner, which I'll get to. I kind of alluded, but we go to Montana, and we're thinking everything's closed. No, dining, none of that. Turns
Mhm.
out I think we ate like actually physically at like 3 places, and
Sounds
I
like
mean,
sounds about right.
and yeah, it does. And it's just weird because it wasn't like it was jam packed. Like if I were to go out to like a restaurant here right now, it would be jam packed because it's dinner rush Tuesday. Certain places, if I go to like a B Dubs, it's NBA playoffs. There's gonna be a lot of people there.
Sure.
This place was empty. So
Yeah.
I'm like, are they like bending the rules? Like, I don't care about Montana, like politics. Like, I don't know if they're open or not. They were just so weird. And like, I don't know if you had this, but they were, like restaurants usually give out like, your cups, with your drinks. They had like to-go cups. It's like,
Yeah. Oh
which
yeah.
was it was interesting, man.
To
Yeah.
to go booze, man. Yeah, that was the new thing during the pandemic, is you could
Yep,
do
I
that.
remember, obviously I'm not old enough. Like I remember, people
Right.
ordering like parents and go carry out and they it was like really hard to open if you were driving. Like
Yeah.
this one place had like a it was like it was kind of cool. It was in a mason jar and like all taped up and you had to like actually try to get the thing open. So I mean
Yeah.
it was pretty smart the way they did it. You'd have to like be in the parking lot and like noticeably be opening your
Yeah, we
your
did a
to-go booze.
yeah, we did a to-go margarita, and I was like, "Oh, sucks," because they give you like a container that was a shot of tequila, a
Oh, you had to
container,
like pour
a container,
everything.
yeah, a container that was the mix, the margarita mix, and then like a bag of ice. And you're like, "Oh, this is funky. I didn't want this. I didn't want to."
Yeah. Man, what weird times to live through.
Yeah.
Any other cool places before we wrap up, or you
Oh,
just
well, no, I mean, just right now. Oh, well, me and my girlfriend we're hopefully planning a little bit of a vacation sometime in the summer before the NFL season kicks off. Maybe a little Euro trip. We'd like South America. She's a little world traveler, so hopefully something
did
like
you
that.
guys
But
go to
right,
like where'd you go last summer? Because I know
oh,
Jonas was roasting about that.
I went to Colombia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I went to
That's cool.
yeah, we went to Miami, and then we went to a wedding in Colombia. One of her best friends growing up, and that was a trip. And I thankfully I got back almost in one piece. I kind of
You
I
pulled we'll just say a lead lap and you can go from
I
there.
pulled a lead a lap. I pulled a lead a lap. I got out of there just by the hair of my chin.
Yeah, for sure. I'm my next trip after I graduate is Vegas, and
Uh-huh.
that I've never been there, and trying to stay on the strip and all that.
Uh-huh.
Even just obviously I can't like gamble, and I kind of wish because I'd put bets on like random teams to win, but God, just seeing the people, I feel like
Great people watching, yeah.
yeah, to go to Vegas and just hear all the idiots just scramble around, like you
Yeah.
didn't have to party to like have a good time. I feel like just watching all this crazy stuff. Like I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if yeah, I mean you did a show live from Vegas, and
Uh-huh.
that was when the burp thing happened on the live air, and
I don't know where that is. Everyone thinks that was me. And I was
I
like,
think it was you. Not gonna lie.
I
I,
maybe
I
it was, because I was like, it was that me? Because I mean my mic was on, but I guess
I don't think it was Jonas. I don't. Yeah, I mean and
it was those gremlins in I thought it was like Berto down
Roberto.
the hand or something. Or because one of our engineers that was out there. Yeah, it was. I guess I'll own it. I'm the flatulent one on the show apparently. Which, by the
I
way,
feel like that's Jonas because Jonas always complains about stomach.
yeah, I know, right? I just and we were eating that night before, me and Jonas. I've never seen him eat such like greasy bar food before, but
Yeah.
but that yeah, you can have a lot of fun in Vegas without having too much fun. We had a good time, work trip out in Vegas. Yeah, man, have a great one out there. you don't have to you don't have to be 21 to enjoy Vegas.
No, and there's like a lot to do, just like looking at stuff. Like obviously like the Gordon Ramsay, I want to try that because Gordon Ramsay's hilarious. You have to wonder like, okay, is this scripted? And but it seems like legit. But trying his food is gonna be interesting, man. I think, that's gonna be another, good part about it. And
Sure.
Jason Smith, our guy, Jason Smith is gonna be happy. I want to try the White Castle, man.
Oh, gross. Yeah, well, you could get it there.
Yep.
I've definitely done it. Funny enough, there's a lot of places that Vegas, like a lot of the strip does shut down. That White Castle on the strip does not. So that's actually one of the places I've eaten probably once or twice at.
Yep.
Wee hours.
So how, like, so you guys, like, did you even sleep when you were there for the work trip, or did you just, like, because I don't know, like, being in Vegas and then
I actually got a lot of good sleep in. First, they treated us well. We got good rooms. There was one night I think where everyone was a little bit haggard. But
how many nights were you there, like, overall?
I was out there longer than most people because they weren't sure if we were going to be doing kind of Saturday shows from there. So they originally booked me just in case whether it was out up on Game or Jonas Knox show, which they just ended up doing their shows from their room, so they didn't really need me on site producing like we would be if we were on location.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of people headed home Friday morning or Friday afternoon, and I was there till Saturday afternoon. So I had a day to myself in Vegas
With Jonas.
Partly some of it with Jonas for sure. We cruised around and had a good time.
Yep. This has been a Blindside Sports with Lee Delapp, delapp, as Jonas would say. And you can hear him on the Two Pros and Cup of Joe every morning, and producing, and you got to crack the mic more. You gotta give Jonas some crap. He deserves it.
I know. Yeah, Brady's upset at me that I don't give him enough crap. I think I'm a pretty fair guy. I think I like
Roberto will hop in whenever. Maybe just doesn't mute his mic. Or maybe right. Is his laugh a sound effect, like, or is it all natural?
Oh, that's all natural.
It's so funny too when you're listening to the show and you hear his laugh, like you have your mic cracked, or Coop will have his mic cracked and you're in the background. He's even trying his mic and it's picking up on my speaker over here. Got the Amazon Echo. I'm not gonna make it go off because we're in an interview, but yeah, I even that can pick up the Roberto laugh from behind the board.
Right. No, it goes all the way across, like John Ramos. They all have such infectious laughter. So.
Yeah, I like John Ramos and Roberto are the top two in radio, I think. And who else is? Those are really the only two. I mean, I think that have the good, and the Arnie's chuckle, the ha ha ha.
Yeah. Oh, Arnie, stinking genius.
Yeah, he needs to fill in for Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. I think the fan base would love him.
Oh, we would love to have him. In fact, he tries to contribute because he blows up my phone half the time during the show.
Hey, Lee.
Listening, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Tell the guys this. I was like, all right, Artie, I got you.
All right. Thanks for watching the podcast. Like, share, because if you share, it's just the best way of doing things, because your friends are gonna trust you more than me saying, watch my podcast. Subscribe, download, follow, turn on notifications. This has been Blindside Sports. I'll have another solo episode out this week, diving into more sports related stuff. This is just a fun episode with Lee Delapp. Go follow Lee on social media and show him some love. Goodbye.